Yeah.
All right, guys, we've got part two, the exciting part to talk to Barton Scott, the founder of Upgraded Formulas, and teaching me how to live my optimal life as a aging female athlete. So I wanted to just be fully transparent, show my results. So you
Love
might
it.
want to
Love it.
listen on or watch on the YouTube channel Low Carb Athlete, but I just like to be real and to say, hey, this is me. I'm a work in progress. And you'll
Mhm.
see my results today that Barton was going to help go through what
And
this
we,
all means.
yeah, and we see also that, there's just nothing to worry about. Like in yeah, I always meet a small portion of the population that has this like incessant worry that like, oh, they're gonna find something terribly wrong and therefore they don't want to look, which personally, I mean, that I can't even pretend that that makes sense to me because
Like
it makes,
genetics too, right? Because people don't want to
yeah,
know their genetics. I'd rather take
that
ownership and figure it out.
totally, totally. And genetics is, I mean, makes a little more sense there because it's like, oh, my genes, and people think genes are destiny, and they're clearly not, thanks to the whole field of epigenetics, which is, above the gene, right? Our ability to influence genes, right? For anyone
Yeah.
that isn't familiar with that. With hair, this can change in 90, and it does change in 90 days whenever you are making adjustments.
Wow.
So this is why you don't just do this once, you do this quarterly, if you so choose to have an optimal life. And what I said last night
Hopefully.
at a mastermind here in town was, um, as we were doing introductions about what we do, speaking to like a group that was very much in the finance world as well, and as well as health and entrepreneurship and different things. And I said, well, I do that. And the reason I do it is because I've always wanted to live a very optimal life. So Debbie and I did a podcast already where we got into why I chose this, why chemical engineering led to this, why I cared about it so much. Short story is, when you lose someone close to you and you realize everyone failed them, including you, it's pretty motivating. And I also had my own health issues towards the end of college. I started to lose my mental clarity and my memory. But so going back to, so with that understanding, what I was saying last night and what applies here is that if you're not testing frequently, you really are completely missing the boat on the life you could have. And it would be an
Mhm.
understatement to say anything less. Just most
Yeah.
people don't have the courage to look that closely, uh, and really gain the clarity that this provides. So I applaud you for sharing this. I've reviewed this with a few other people on their shows, and um, it's just once you get in the habit of looking at yourself and going, oh, I can improve, you stop judging yourself so harshly,
Mm.
and you stop thinking, oh yeah, I can't believe it. It's like you just know that tomorrow and later today and in an hour you can be better than you know where you are now, and that'll
Yeah.
give you just more ease and grace and energy through the rest of your life, and who doesn't want that?
You're
So the
saying all
trip
these words. I'm writing these down. Ease, grace, stop judging, clarity. There's such great words to remember. So, yeah, sorry,
right.
continue.
Thank you. Well, a lot of this has come through increased levels of health lead to increased levels of enlightenment, focus, clarity, whatever you want to call it, where you quite literally think better, you're cleaning it, your thinking is cleaner, um, your personality is just a combination or a assembly of the habits and that you have, and your habits are
Mhm.
developed by your nutrition. They're greatly dependent on your nutrition. So the soil being so incredibly depleted, the steak or sweet potato or salad you eat today has about half of the nutrients it had 100 years ago. And those are real numbers. from real studies throughout the world. And it's because the topsoil is shrinking thanks to crops being planted again and again. So to get away from the doom and gloom of that, the thing that is in your control, so that, because talking too much about the downside starts to create this sort of almost victim dialogue, which is not helpful, but
Yes.
awareness is helpful, right? So I want to mention that. Now I want to pull away from it and go, okay, so what do we do about it?
Yes.
What we do about it is we test our levels quarterly. We take action differently each time, and we ultimately get healthier. And when we get healthier, most people automatically become happier. Like they have more energy to like clean their place, organize their life, break, end bad relationships, start better relationships, things like that. So I think that's actually the super conscious or part of or the subconscious getting in the way of the super conscious, which is the I think people understand intuitively like life is going to change as they start to get healthier, and the ego certainly wants us to stay as we are because it's familiar and in control. So anyway,
I might can I just throw in that I think it's so important to think again what all these things, I'll put these words in the show notes, but just as I'm at my mom's again in Palm Desert, as people know, my dad passed away in June, and everyone's 80. And I just, two of their friends this week I saw in Palm Desert, one has excessive gas and having issues in the colon. The other person is throwing up nonstop. And, it's just like, you guys don't have to feel this way. And I think so many people, they don't know, especially that generation, to think alternative medicine, because the doctors just give more prescription. Oh, you're having this problem, take this. And they're having food allergies and have a histamine reaction. And you really see it if you look at, as I say, test and not guess, so you can be your optimal self right now, but do that quarterly, and then do it so you're a better person 10, 20, 30 years from now. So if you look at how your parents are living life and feeling every day, that should be extra motivation, not just how you perform in your upcoming race this season. And I think it's really empowering to take that ownership and see what your areas of opportunity are, so you can be your best self now, today, and when you're 80 plus minus years old.
Wow, it's really powerful. Yeah.
It's frustrating though, because you can help them if you did stuff like this. People, if they get improved digestive enzymes, if they did the right probiotics and gut health repair. But it's so sad to see people depend on fasting. It's this cheapest free cheap way to work on your health. So anyways, I just want to throw that in there just for extra motivation for people to take ownership of your health now, and not do what I say is, you don't want to struggle every day. You want to strive to survive. You don't want to strive. I can't speak anymore. You want to thrive every day and not struggle every day. And I think a lot of this we can help getting some clues to how to be your best self now. So I'll get off my soapbox.
Yeah, strive to thrive. I mean, it's true. It does take some energy to do that. And if you're wondering if it's worth it, yes, it is. And if you're listening to this, you might be one of the people that feel this way, that it's been so long since you really felt your best that you forgot what that feels like. And I just came off of a 5-day fast, which you know about. And I led a group of people that fasted we shared a big Airbnb, big house, and the goal was actually 3 days. And then I flew home and I kept fasting. I broke it on Saturday, and I didn't eat since Monday evening. And just water, our minerals from upgraded formulas, and based on my hair tests, like what I'm still taking the things that I'm normally low in. I'm taking things that support thyroid health, things that support adrenal health, which definitely recommend that you go back and listen to our first episode, probably even before this one, and then come back and listen to this one, or however you do it, finish. Yeah. So, but listen to both. And fasting resets you. I've done an 11-day fast. I've done multiple 5 days. And once a year, if you do a 7-day fast, you basically have no cancer risk because it clears out all the cells. And Dr. Thomas Seyfried was able to determine that. And that, honestly, we should have more information out there like that instead of the doom and gloom that's perpetrated by pharmaceutical companies, which I truly, truly believe are just like the scourge of the world, the most evil, certainly like power hungry, greed hungry area. And the problem is they've teamed up with the ultimate influencer, which is the doctor in the white lab coat, and that's a really powerful marketing campaign. They have used millions and millions, actually billions of taxpayer dollars to fund that marketing effort, and they're not really afraid of the consequences. So just to like break for anyone that's here, like just to break open that mind, you could share with people, like Merck, the company MERCK, a long time ago realized, thanks to this constitutional thing that said that, oh yeah, you can like you don't have to worry about, like you basically, it's going to be really hard to be sued for a vaccine. It's not really possible. You actually have to sue like the US government to do that because they're backing it. And anyway, there's just this nasty mandate with where the eventual thing from it was that they actually were able to identify that Merck employees said, oh, well, based on those lawsuits, we can afford, like, we know that people will die, but we can afford it. So we'll go forward with the vaccine. And I mean, that's just murder through product. So anyway, I just want, hopefully that shatters. I kind of like bounced around there, but hopefully that shatters the white lab coat and the doctors in your favorite. Doctors are trying to help, but they're really busy, and they went to school and they didn't know that they were learning medication and not health, but they learned medication and not health.
True.
Exactly. And that's just that is the result. Now, some of them, a very small percentage, have continued somehow to find time to learn and continue educating themselves in nutrition, which they were not taught. And any of them will tell you that at some point in their nutrition, their education, they realized they weren't learning nutrition, and they realized that what they were learning and doing was not ever going to get someone well. It was just going to modulate symptoms. And that's keeping the water from boiling type thing. So with that being said, this is the exact opposite approach. And this is what I found through a very logical approach driven, all right, we have to find the answers type thing. So I recommend who does this test. Literally everyone, literally quarterly, for as long as you want to be healthy. And I do it too, So I take all the products daily. We third-party test every single batch. We have a nanotechnology approach to our supplements, so they actually absorb. I know, what a concept.
And that's a big concept.
It's a concept. It's a huge concept, and we're, to my knowledge, the only company that does this. So yeah, when you take our magnesium, a lot of people have gotten off of, this is not medical advice, but what I can tell you is that people have told us as a company that they have no longer needed their anxiety medication, sleep medication, things like that. So by taking things like upgraded magnesium and just like not having those symptoms anymore, because those are symptoms and it's just pointing to something like a magnesium deficiency, and yet we don't speak the language very well, right? So this test goes a step further. Instead of just blindly taking a supplement, even if it's a very effective supplement, we want to know where your body is. We want to survey your body so then we know how to best help. So for example, in this case, looking at Debbie's results, her calcium is high. And this is one area to focus. And then she has some magnesium loss. So by the way, I'm going to skip around here. We have consultations with a whole team of practitioners at Upgraded Formulas that can take this and provide you a great conversation. And then if you're a practitioner listening to this, there you can click affiliate at the bottom of the page and sign up and send people for a test, and you can do the test yourself if you learn to do it. This test is, don't be fooled, is one of the most complicated functional medicine tests out there if you're going to actually do it well and do it service, but it's very affordable. So with the right expertise, you can do it. That's why we have a course. So it's not a pitch, but I want to change healthcare, and we are changing healthcare. So this is the best way to do it, is that to get as many practitioners educated as possible. That's one of our goals. So that being said, we have a course. You can learn to do this if you're a practitioner, or you can just, send people to us and get a commission. Either way, the goal, the company's doing great. I want to just help as many people as possible.
Yeah.
Because again, healthier is happier. It's just like, it's hard to be optimal or happy when you're not healthy, right? So, okay.
So just before you go into the elements, can you look back the metabolic type part? Anything we want to mention there on the metabolic type? For me is slow 1. Do you want to address that first?
Sure.
Somewhere?
So this is actually a really good place to be. Slow 1 and fast 1 or neighbors, and they both have different advantages. Slow 2 would be worse, slow 3, slow 4. Fast 4 would be worse, fast 2, fast. So you either want to be slow 1 or fast 1, so you're good there. And they have, so and the cool thing is to know is that this kind of gives you an idea overall, but this doesn't tell you, this is kind of like a symptom. It points the way, but it's not the thing that you try to fix, right? It just, so instead, we look at the levels on every test, and we focus on this page here, the significant ratios. We look at this a lot, so we can see here that your calcium is high, and it's actually causing your metabolism to be slower than it should be. So you may be thinking, oh, well, I'm not supplementing calcium, which, by the way, most people should not supplement calcium. Again, do your test, don't guess. This hair test really is so powerful for understanding minerals, because when you check your blood, like we talked about in the first podcast, you don't see deficiencies easily, because the blood is the last place to, I'll say it one more time, the blood is the last place to show deficiencies. That's because it's pulling from your bone marrow and your organs. And why is it doing it? It's because the blood is the most important thing. It nourishes the body. So we check the blood and we go, Debbie, everything's fine. And you're like, well, I feel terrible. My hair's falling out. I feel like I'm gaining weight. My hormones are off. And you're like, yeah, no, you're fine. And you're like, that is actually not what I was hoping to hear. I want to hear what I need to work on. So do a different test or do something differently, or, let me know what to work on, right? That seems reasonable.
Can I just throw in that I just did a whole blood chemistry panel with a naturopath that specializes in hormones, and she's great, but they use the vibrant wellness ratios, which I thought would be functional, and they are, it's basically you are fine too. So it is the importance of doing multiple labs and not just look at your blood test and make sure you put it in the optimal functional ranges, not just the normal ranges. And then, obviously we need to do this test to see what's happening, because it's not showing up in my blood. So if I still say, okay, I can't lose weight, my hair falls out, I'm slow on recovery, and my performance is crappy on my run workouts, what's going on? And you spend all this money on one test, it doesn't really help you figure out what actually is going on.
Sure. So we can talk about, so what I'm seeing right now is thyroid is low. Testosterone, progesterone is probably low, thanks to zinc and copper being low. So what I'm doing right now for Debbie is we're talking about overall, let's see, actually copper is very high. Wow. Yeah. Okay. So I was just looking at the ratio. without checking the individual level. But wow, okay, so copper is very high. So we want to be pulling copper out. So B6 will help with that. Taking binders. We'll have an awesome binder soon, but you could do a quicksilver binder. I do that nightly, every night, because you also have some cadmium, some lead, aluminum. By the way, a lot of people have these things, right? If you're like, oh wow, those are, like Debbie's pretty healthy. She really knows her stuff, and she still has this. This can be from 20 years ago, guys. This often, this heavy metals do not just work their way out of the body easily. Now, the cool thing is when we remineralize the body, so we add more minerals in the right ratios, we actually start to push out these heavy metals more and more and more. And then we heal and seal the digestive system through things like fasting, which is great. But again, some people, it blows my mind how like some people will go, well, what if I don't fast? Will this still work? It's like, oh my God, do I have to explain that it will still work? We're talking
Yeah.
about improving things optimally. It's the only time I start to get like aggravated. I'm like, wow, Jesus. Like, if you don't want to do anything and you just want to live a terrible average life, I'm not going to stop you. Go for it. Darwinism. But wow, if that is not you, then this is for you. So how do we get calcium down? That's really important. We actually break calcium down with two things. One's might be controversial because people have just been hammered with take vitamin D. It's like, what if your calcium level's super high? People that are quote unquote experts just on TV are very rarely experts, right?
Yeah.
Because they've I don't know. Anyway, so what can we do about it? So in this case, if you're taking vitamin D for the next 90 days, I would not. And I would just get the vitamin D that you can, when you can, from sunlight. And I know it's winter, but stand in front of red lights to start your circadian rhythm and stuff like that. Your calcium being that high, it's so critical to get it down because it's influencing the rest of the nutrition in your body at a cellular level. You want to be able to get it in and out of the cell easily. So right now you want to be taking iodine, I would say at least twice a day. I'm really partial to all of our minerals for all the reasons we talked about in the first show. They really work. And that helps break down the calcium shell, and that helps turn up the thyroid activity by giving it one of the most important minerals the thyroid can have. So this is key. What I'm doing for Debbie too is, really explaining things in a way that helps all of you listening really understand this. This is not exactly how a consultation with us would normally go, where we're talking about it in a very systematic way, and then we're prescribing all right, well, you should eat more foods high in potassium, for example, in this case, and then you should supplement potassium this many times a day. You should do it this much. We're not doing that. So she'll go through with one of our nutritionists and have a 45-minute call and get that sort of prescription so that she can really dial in and make the right action, have the right actions based on her test results. So just disclaimer for everyone listening. So we have, we have zinc showing, looks like you have a zinc loss here. So I would put in some vitamin C. With copper, it's interesting. I guess at this point I would have to ask, are you supplementing either zinc or copper currently?
Not copper, but zinc sometimes. I
Okay.
have in some immune, and like I zinc lozenges
Okay.
when I have
Yeah,
cold
are you doing
season.
like large amounts of like 50 milligrams? You know the dose, or
No.
okay. Okay.
Um,
Something like 30 or less per day.
yeah, yes.
Okay.
Just I'll take it once in a while, not every day.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. Well, the copper is, a lot of people show copper toxicity. So I see this as being a good thing, actually, because your body's healthy enough to show us that there's a high level of copper toxicity. In a previous stage of healing, where you're not as far along, you'll show hidden copper toxicity, which means your copper level will show low, but we'll look at about 8 other things and we'll go, wow. And then we'll hear your symptoms and the things you want to improve and the things you're struggling with and go, okay, yeah, you probably have hidden copper toxicity. Let's check. And we'll check and we'll go, oh, yep, sure enough, zinc is higher than this, potassium is lower than this, so on and so forth. All right, so that being said, let's shift back to the significant ratio page and the toxic ratios. So toxic ratios, you're good. You actually want to be in the acceptable range. Yeah. See, I heard you laugh.
You see, well, I look at it and I couldn't read this bottom, but just how you see the bar all the way to the top. It's like, wow, I'm toxic.
No,
but that's not the chart's acceptable. Okay, good.
Right, exactly. I can't tell you how many people make that mistake, and that, you know, and they're like, oh my gosh, yeah. So we talked about this first ratio, the second ratio. So yeah, if you're not following along online, that's fine, but you might.
So the first one's
to.
calcium and the potassium ratio. Maybe if we can touch on the ratios, like for example, those top 3.
Yeah,
what makes them, and you know, what are they and why are they significant?
Sure.
And what do they impact?
Right, absolutely. So we have thyroid as the calcium, potassium, sodium to potassium is adrenals, calcium to phosphorus is metabolism. And so yeah, you're better to be higher, but you in the Na to K than lower. But you actually, you know, in this case, you want to bring up your potassium, like we talked about here. So your sodium may be fine where it is. How much salt are you doing per day? Probably a pretty good bit.
Yeah, I use Element Tea, the unsweetened, and I use Redmond's real salt on everything.
Okay. So yeah, so for the next couple of months, you get back down your sodium a little bit. Maybe cutting out one of those packets. And then yeah, so that, because you want to be here, you know, 2.4 for your thyroid, and that's going to help you sleep better, have more energy, be less stressed, things like that.
So the calcium potassium is thyroid, you're saying, and then the potassium one is adrenals.
Yes, yeah.
And then what was the other one?
This is metabolism.
A metabolism. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting.
So you can see the pattern between these two. They both have what? They both have high calcium. So this is arguably the most important thing to fix here. But that reducing your potassium, I mean your sodium rather, is very important. Increasing your potassium. Your zinc to copper ratio, it's really interesting. Like what's going on there? Did you have like you know, I see really high copper like this for women that have had a copper IUD. I see you know, copper toxicity thanks to copper pipes. It can be bio-unavailable copper from drinking out of like copper cups. There's a lot of different reasons, but regardless, what does this tell you? It says cut out the copper to the extent that you can cut it out here in your life. And then let's see, there's one other thing. So copper, yeah, also manganese, and then eating foods with high sulfur content. So you can, just as a little bit of homework, you can look that up and and take that. We do have a manganese product that I highly recommend that helps raise core body temp too for a lot of people, which is incredible that it's that effective. But it works on the SOD pathway. So and we've had a number of people like Tim Gray, who owns Health Optimization Summit in London, where I spoke this year to about 2,000 people. And Tim, for he and his mom, as he would say, since he's British, were both able to raise their core body temp within the first 2 bottles of it. So,
Crazy.
and then he also, side note, he used to do intravenous magnesium twice per week, every week. He hasn't done that over a year and a half, and pretty wild. Pretty wild,
Yeah.
because he takes upgraded magnesium nightly and sometimes during the day. And he's like me, I burn through magnesium really easily. Like, I have a lot of output, but burn through it easily. So something to be aware of, certainly.
That's interesting.
And
I just had someone's blood chemistry test and their magnesiums was pretty low, but they take it all the time. So some people just, maybe the stress or different things that would, what would contribute to burning through magnesium more so than another person if you're
yeah,
supplementing with it, but it's still low.
well, remember too, going back to the whole reason I started the company is
Yeah, you
because
don't know.
we were supplementing things that we're not absorbing. So they're not absorbing it mainly. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, that's what I
Biggest thing
figured.
is, yeah, you're just purely not absorbing it. And not absorbing, it's not that you're not absorbing any of it, it's just that it's not enough to raise your deficiency. So they're going to have low energy, constipation, headache, fatigue. They're ever going to feel fully themselves. It's such an important mineral. So yeah, he doesn't have to do that anymore, which is a huge money and time savings.
Well, that's why, a side note, why it's important to figure out what, like, I'll do supplement audits for people when they start. It's like, hey, we have this whole, people have, especially if they listen to podcasts and read blogs, that they have so many supplements, and you can like keep buying stuff, then you don't really need most of it. So it's nice to test and not guess, to figure out what do you need to supplement, what do you need to lower, what do you need to increase, and not just take everything you read about, because it is overwhelming and you start buying into everything and not really know what works best for your unique body, not just everything we hear.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So that's all true. And then moving on, the magnesium level, you just need to add B6 and continue supplementing with magnesium. That's why you're showing the loss there. So B6 helps utilization. It's required. And then everything else will pretty much balance itself out. It looks like your iron is really good. It's just that your copper level is high. That's why that's off. But yeah, so that's really a good summary of the test and some thoughts. And then of
Yeah.
course, Debbie's able to get the prescription when she goes through a consultation, and someone will have time to actually like talk through that part of it, which is different.
So when you meet with the practitioner nutritionist in your program, they'll help you figure out what supplements to order from upgraded formulas and which amount to take and for how long, and then retest to figure out what you need to do, because that's what people think is not forever. Even as
Foods
FDN
too.
practitioners, we do
Yeah.
90 days, retest, reassess, course correct, and figure out what the next step is.
Yeah, foods too. They'll make suggestions that are diet agnostic, like eat foods high in phosphorus, for example.
Yes.
Which is something you can do. And then probably, increasing stomach acid, and here's how, and things like that. Yeah.
Now,
Taking a
would you
binder. Even if we
would you
don't, even if we recommend supplements that we don't sell sometimes too, to give you an idea of,
Quicksilver?
yeah, for example. Yeah. And other brands. So it's not just about selling product that's ours. It's about getting people well. So
Now, would you suggest, as we do
which
as
is
FDN
huge.
practitioners, do multiple labs? Like, would you like to do this and a blood chemistry panel and a Dutch test and
I
GI
would love for
map?
people, yeah, I would love for people to not be overwhelmed, and to do as much as they can handle emotionally at the time. I like a lot of other tests too. Sure. Yeah, totally.
Well,
But
I think it
it's
depends
just,
on the budget, though. A lot of people I
yeah,
work with, like,
that
okay,
too.
I can do one test, and which is the best test to figure out the most valuable information, help us create a personalized coaching program for them.
Right. Right.
And this would be,
Yeah.
top
This
on the
isn't,
list to figure it out.
yeah, it really
Because
is.
as you said, the blood chemistry is not going to show what this shows because it's the last place you're saying is in the blood. So it's like testing insulin before you're type 2 diabetic.
Right.
Get the right numbers, the right information, right test to do before it becomes really low or an issue.
Exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah.
Well, great. Well, we'll put all the links in the show notes, how people can order the test, and
Mhm.
put the discount code in there. And then really important to get that consultation with someone afterwards, as I'm going to do,
Mhm.
because you need an expert in this area to figure out how to read it and
Sure.
how to apply it to your life. And you're looking at what symptoms you have too. Do you have, what are your top 5 health concerns? What are you struggling with? What are your areas of opportunity? And then how can these things might help? And if you've done blood chemistry like I just did, my thyroid is very low and my testosterone was super low.
Ah, it
And
was. Okay. Yeah,
really
makes
looking at
sense.
correlating the data together and find out, okay, I'm struggling. I do not lose weight very easily. My energy and recovery is a little bit lagging in area of opportunity. So just working with the coach to figure that out, I think is so
Mhm.
essential. It's not something you get this on your own. Figure out like, okay, I don't know what to do with this information. Then you just wasted your money because you just not taking action and taking the next step is first
Yeah,
step is
that
ordering the
consultation is
test,
key.
taking the test, consultation, then getting a personalized program to
Mhm.
live, feel,
Yeah, don't
perform your
try to
best.
just do it on your own because health is objective. It's good to have support. It really is. So
Yeah. Well, good deal. And what are you got coming up in the next years? We'll have this posted in December and then people
we,
starting.
yeah, we're just rolling out more and more products. We'll be in Thrive Market soon. A lot of great
Great.
things coming out. Looking to partner and be in more retail too, probably, but just make it easy for people. So
Where everyone, I'm in San Diego area, but in LA, it's that
mhm.
Irwins, that
Yes,
all, it's like Quicksilver's all in there, but that's where I can see you guys having your supplements.
that would be great. Thank you for that reminder. Yeah, we should
It's
reach out
very
to them.
high end,
Yeah, very high end,
healthy.
beautiful products. It's a really interesting store for sure.
Yeah, it's been so,
Yeah.
okay. Well, good deal. I hope you guys have questions, send them our way and I'll get them answered for you. But hopefully this motivates you, the listener, the athlete, to improve what you are doing now and figure out a personalized program to live, feel, and perform your best in life. And your future self, I think, is, as I keep finding, how you want to be living your life later is take action now. So thanks for your time today, and thanks for going over my results and seeing how I can live optimally now.
Absolutely. Thank you, Debbie. This is fun.